What's up, everybody? Well, today I am here to bring to you another vacuum that is in my vacuum collection. This time, it is of a vacuum that I've been trying to add to my collection for years. What I have is basically another Hoover Elite. For those of you who don't know by now and are just tuning in to the channel, I love Hoover Elites, and they're probably my most favorite vacuum, and they are the vacuum that got me into collecting vacuums. And this one is one of my childhood Hoover Elites. What I have for your viewing pleasure today is a Hoover Runabout Supreme. Basically, one of the Kmart edition Hoover Elites that basically was meant to be the budget alternative to the much higher end models. The Runabout line was exclusive to Kmart stores back then. Well, interestingly enough, they still sold some actual Elites, likely under the name Elite or some other names, even were sold at Kmart at the time alongside these Runabouts, but these were meant to be the budget Kmart exclusive models. And interestingly enough, they're pretty much the same vacuum as the higher end models. It's just it doesn't have as much features as the higher end models would. Just that's honestly the only difference between them. It's still the same vacuum overall, it's just not as much features. And my history with this particular vacuum dates all the way back to when I was about 9 years old, when my family at their river house in San Marcos, Texas, actually owned, at first, a hardbag Hoover Encore Supreme. It was the blue version with the T-shaped hood, and I have that same vacuum in my own collection. Well, not the same one per se, but same model. And just about a few years after that, they also acquired a black Hoover Runabout Supreme. But, which I do believe they bought that either from a pawn shop or a local Goodwill, but it was basically used as a backup to that Encore Supreme. And I used it only a couple times, and I essentially had mixed feelings about it. It was one of the two vacuums that kind of started my bad blood with soft bag Hoover Elites, because they were the ones of my childhood that were known to spew dust back into the air when you turn it on. And the hard bags didn't do it as much, at least not that I could see. But this was long before I knew what HEPA cloth bags were. So I didn't really use the Runabout Supreme as much. And I think it was not too long after they gave it off to a family member of theirs. And they still held on to the Encore Supreme until the motor bearings in it started to wear out. And that thing was eventually replaced by my mother's Eureka the Boss Smart Vac. So, ever since I got my blue hardbag Encore Supreme, which I will link the video to that vacuum in the description of this video, I have always wanted to get the same Runabout Supreme that was alongside that one. And this is long after my opinions of soft bag Elites have changed. I've started to like them about as much, if not a little bit better, than the hard bags. Of course, I will still have a soft side for the hard bags more than the soft bags, but I now have more of an appreciation for the soft bag Elites now that HEPA cloth bags are introduced. So, and this vacuum was a part of my childhood, so I figured it made sense to add this into my collection and have it stay until hell freezes over. because this, along with that Encore Supreme and a select few others, I am not getting rid of for the foreseeable future. But anyway, let's go ahead and give a walkthrough of the cleaner. This one was actually an eBay purchase on the day of Black Friday of this year, which I think it kind of coincidentally made sense since this vacuum is the color black and I was buying it on Black Friday. So just a little coincidence there, but nevertheless, this now resides into my collection. So, walk through. This is one of the more basic models, so it is a soft bag. But one way to tell it's a basic model is that it has the wraparound hose on it. At least that's what I like to refer to this hose at, because it obviously wraps around the top there and connects to the other side. Same as how my childhood Encore Supreme did. But interestingly enough, when my family bought their Runabout Supreme, it did not come with tools or a hose. It came with the tool rack, to which I could actually swap the hose over from the Encore Supreme onto it in case I wanted to use tools. But only one vacuum came with tools back then, and that was the Encore Supreme. So it's nice that this one comes with a hose and all of its tools. And so right here on the front, you do have your Runabout Supreme triple filtration on the front. You have your nice little red line on the front, signature to the Runabout lineup. And right here is your bag zipper on the side. And inside, as usual, with all the vacuums I get, I run HEPA cloth bags if I can. So this is a Hoover generic type A HEPA bag. Actually, it's not made by Hoover. It's made by Vacuum America Clean. But since it's HEPA cloth, I'm running in it. These things filter out so much better than even the genuine paper bags do of the time. And they're just overall much better bags. Right down here, you do have your stair cleaning handle that you can hold right here to use the vacuum to clean on carpeted stairs. And as we move along down here, you have basically all your Hoover markings on the front here. You have here your carpet height adjustment, which is a 4-position. I always leave it in the middle for the pile of this carpet. The cleaning effectiveness per amp is rated at 17, which this was Hoover's famous marketing technique back in the day to make high-end models look prettier on the shelf while also giving them a higher price tag. And it has brushed edge cleaning on both sides. And it uses only 7.2 amps in the motor, which is pretty energy efficient, and even in this day and age, because a lot of vacuums today draw somewhere like 10 to 12 amps. And right over here you have your Runabout Supreme by Hoover, and then the Runabout symbol there. This is one touch of detail that I do like on this vacuum. It has the Runabout Supreme on the hood, even on the outer bag. If anyone remembers, I also own a Runabout Deluxe, which is essentially the hard bag version of this. And early versions of the Runabout Deluxe actually said Runabout Deluxe by Hoover, like this Runabout Supreme did, but mine's the later one, so it just says Runabout by Hoover and doesn't say Runabout Deluxe on the hood. But it does say it on the bag door, so you know which one it is. So that's just one nice touch of detail that Hoover did on these vacuums back then. And right here you do have a little door that lifts up, so you can use it to hook your hose in. And now let's go ahead and tilt this thing on its back and show you the underside. Here is the brush roll that is in this. It is the high-end dual row brush roll with a full length of bristles, and it has this this 4 metal wire plate that is supposed to leave much better carpet lines than the 3-bar plastic one that hangs down a little bit lower, and it does do very good. Even also given the fact that this has the full length of bristles. So it works very good. The bristles are very nice and stiff. And the whole brush roll is a helix patterns where it basically draws dirt down into this suction path right down here. So the powerful airflow can take it away. And one thing I've always loved about these genuine brush rolls is their design. Being a thin design is supposed to allow for much better airflow running through the head. And let's go ahead and turn on its side to show you the model number. This is Hoover Cleaner model U4269-930, 120 volts, 60 hertz, 7.2 amps, bag type A. The belt part number is 38528-027, now known as 38528-040. It's basically just a little bit different of a belt, but does last a little bit longer than these old 027 belts do. And if anyone knows how to serial date these old Hoovers, the first 2 digits of the serial number will decode the month. The 3rd and the 4th digit will decode the year. So 08 of 98 would mean this was manufactured in August of 1998 by the Hoover Company of North Canton, Ohio, for household use only, made in the USA. That is what I love about these old Hoovers. They are all US made. So now I'm just going to show you the back side of the cleaner. You do have your crevice tool mounted on the back, your upholstery tool, your extension wand. This one has just a single extension wand, so it doesn't have the double wand setup, which initially I was expecting this to have, because at first I thought this would have been just like my Runabout Deluxe, which it has the dual wand setup. But interestingly, it doesn't. So I don't know whether or not this was replaced, or the Supremes just never came with the dual wand setup. But also you do have your dusting brush right up there. But that's just very interesting in my opinion, that it just has the one wand setup. But I'm not complaining. It came with all the tools, which is something my childhood Runabout Supreme didn't come with. So I'm not complaining there. And here off to the side, typical Hoover Elite fashion, you do have your side-mounted power switch, which is basically a little plastic rod that runs down into where a main rocker switch is in the valley of the motor. So when it's basically pushed on, it actually pushes up on the rocker switch and turns the machine on. Hoover actually calls this a safety switch, which I'm thinking that means that this doesn't have electrical current, as if compared to where it would have done a main actual rocker switch wired up in there, which I'm thinking this was mostly done for serviceability reasons. But I have always liked the power switch design on these Elites. They definitely prevent people from getting electrocuted. And now let's go ahead and release the cord on this, which unfortunately, being that this is the budget model, it does not have a very long cord. I think it's only like a 24-foot cord, so that's kind of the unfortunate thing about this. So let's go ahead and plug this in, and we will go ahead and turn this thing on and give you a demo of it running. Now, typical Hoover Elite fashion, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who have owned these vacuums probably know by now, but in case you don't, this vacuum is pretty loud when it's running, so headphone users, I would advise turning down your volume, but that's essentially their nature I have done to this, like I do all to my Elites, is I service the motor completely, make sure everything is running good. I even lubricate the motor bearings and lubricate up the brush roll and clean out any dirt and grime that I can. But as much work as I've done, in reality, it's just this loud. So anyway, here we go. feel like a little kid using this thing. Even though I never use the Runabout Supreme that my family had from childhood as much as I did their Daily Driver Encore Supreme, it still takes me back to my childhood days using this machine. But before we end the video, let's go ahead and demonstrate this in tool mode. So anyway, just remove the hose from the rack like so. Then just lift up the little attachment door right here, and the hose just pops in like that. Now, because this vacuum is direct air, I would not expect miracle suction power from this thing, because direct air vacuums are known to produce more airflow than suction, so tool performance is not going to be very great. But it isn't terrible, I will say. One thing I've always loved about these wraparound hose models is this little curve at the end of the wand. This feels very ergonomic in its design. Let's go ahead and put this all back up. Even though I may not have had as much fond memories of this Runabout Supreme in my childhood, I will definitely tell you it feels nice to have a vacuum that was at least part of my childhood. I will definitely say that this particular vacuum was the very vacuum that exposed me and was the first square hood Elite that I've used in my childhood. Everything else was a T-shaped hood, or the first one was a legacy hood. But I digress. Well, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this video on the Hoover Runabout Supreme. Be sure and stay tuned, and don't forget to like, rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.